My name is Thelma Coyne Long. That's my full name, and I was born on the 14th of October 1918. Well, I began to play tennis at the age of 12. Fortunately, I seemed to be good enough that even when I was playing in the juniors, I was also good enough to play in the senior events. So that's how I became playing 16 and 17 years of age. I was playing in the senior events. At about the same time, my doubles partner really, nearly all through my career, Nancy Wynn, as she was then, Nancy Wynn Bolton, was also a very good player and a very good junior in Victoria. It was talked about since, I think, 35, 36, that a women's team would go overseas because a women's team hadn't been sent, that is by an Australian tennis body anyway, since the early 20s. I think it was about 1924, 25. But nothing had happened since then. And there was some talk that a women's team should be sent, mainly because Nancy and myself were showing promise. The Australian Association decided to send a team overseas, so they sent 4 ladies. It was Nancy Bolton and myself and Dorothy Stevenson and Mrs. Harry Hopman, Nell Hopman, who was Harry Hopman's wife, and Harry, of course, was the manager of the Australian Davis Cup team at that time. We were all very excited in February 1938 when we left by ship for England. In those times, even right up until the 1950s, we travelled by ship because there was no travel in 38 very much over long distances. The men went overseas and played Davis Cup, and they were trained, but we just had to rely on playing ourselves and doing what we could to do some training. But on the ship, we used to get up each morning and do exercises or run round the decks or find perhaps a wall or something of the sort that we could bang the ball up against anyway. And then, of course, on the way to England, we would make a stop at all our own ports, such as Perth or Fremantle in Western Australia, and then again at Colombo, and at least get off and have a game and a hit then. But by and large, we just more or less had to manage it. It was a 6 weeks trip to England, so it was not easy to keep your form up. By the time we arrived at England, well, we certainly needed 2 or 3 tournaments to more or less to get going again, and those we played in England or the British Hardcourt Championships in Bournemouth. They were our early tournaments. And playing at Wimbledon, of course, the first time for all of us was a real experience, because when you take up tennis, you hopefully think, well, you might eventually get to Wimbledon and play there. Well, I thought the team generally was very successful, considering it was the first time we'd even played overseas. The first time that we'd played at Wimbledon at all. I mean, I don't think you can ever go to Wimbledon and the first time be expected to win it. We lost only to the winners of the ladies' doubles in Wimbledon. That was Alice Marble and Sarah Fabian. And we lost to them in the quarterfinals, and they were the winners of the tournament. So I think I lost to Hilda Sperling in the singles, but I got through 3 rounds of Wimbledon to reach her. And she lost 2 long advantage sets against Helen Moody, who won the 1938 women's singles. So she was an excellent tennis player, Hilda Sperling, and a cross-country runner, and I felt as though I was running cross-country when I played, and I tell you, every ball came back. And all told, I think the whole trip we lost £4,000 and we never heard the end of it. You know, in the papers, or they'd say, thinking about women's tours and this, you know, so much was lost. They never ever said how much was lost on the Davis Cup trips. So women didn't get a look in, and this was more or less the same in the general community. I mean, men came first and women came afterwards, sort of thing. We were really something like second-class citizens, you know. You got some sort of a job, and then you got married, and then you had children, and then you looked after the children and the kitchen sink, and that was it. Well, women weren't supposed to, I don't think, excel at sport. I mean, if they did, it was, you know, very, very notable. We were supposed to make a trip, that is, with a mixed team, to South Africa in 1939. And of course, you know what happened in 1939? A war was declared. In my case, when I went overseas in 1938, I was 19. Well, then war came, so what I missed out in going overseas was virtually a whole decade. During wartime, I didn't touch a racket at all. Playing those tournaments, I met an awful lot of people who are, many of them are still my friends, and it was a great, exhilarating experience. Tennis as a sport has been a tremendous satisfaction and has meant a lot to me, and has meant a lot to my life.